Bolliger & Mabillard is a renowned roller coaster manufacturer known for their various different ride models. Today, we're going to be talking about one of their most popular, the Floorless coaster. Currently, there are 11 of these in the United States and on the continent for that matter, and I've been fortunate enough to have ridden them all. In all corners of the country, B&M Floorless coasters can be found at big chain parks and usually have their fair share of differences. So with that being said, let's get to ranking. The last thing I'll say before we dive into the list is if you wish to support the channel, a like and subscription below would be greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget to drop a comment for how you'd rank the Floorless coasters you've been on. Alright, enjoy the video. These are the B&M Floorless coasters of America, ranked from worst to best. Number 11, Firebird at Six Flags America. The most recent floorless coaster, given that it was transformed into such from a stand-up design, is pretty obviously the worst one. I don't know many people who actually like Firebird, but you've got to cut it some slack. It was B&M's first roller coaster, originally opening at Six Flags Great America in Chicago before making its way over to Maryland. For that reason, its rough feel is excusable, but that doesn't mean it isn't unpleasant. I don't mean to be too harsh, but it is the one floorless coaster on this list that I wouldn't care to ever ride again. Number 10, Patriot at California's Great America. Another one of the stand-up to floorless conversions turned out to be a far better ride than Firebird. This ride is smooth, flows great, and has a couple standout elements. The only reason it doesn't place higher is because it was built on such a small scale. Relative to all the other floorless coasters on here, this one is absolutely tiny and absolutely short. Therefore, I can't say it's a must-do kind of attraction, but it was more enjoyable than I was expecting, which is something it deserves credit for. Number 9, Hydra the Revenge at Dorney Park. The smallest ground-up floorless coaster ever built is also one of the more unique rides of its kind. Did you know Hydra is the only B&M floorless coaster without a vertical loop? Instead, it has wonky elements that you don't see most of the time, like an incline dive loop, JoJo roll, and this, whatever this is. My main gripe with Hydra doesn't have a whole lot to do with its layout, but it mostly has to do with its lack of whip. None of the inversions feel snappy, which is a problem given that most floorless inversions tend to have some sort of kick to them. I blame this mostly on Hydra's small scale, which isn't the ride's fault, but I happen to take away from the pacing and speed in my opinion. Number 8, Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain. The only cloned coaster on here is an underrated ride to me. People say Scream is rough, I don't see it. People say it's a parking lot coaster, which yes is true, but there's so many other coasters like that. The one thing I can agree with is that the layout is super bland. I'm not just talking about the clone thing either, Scream just doesn't have any unique elements. Vertical loops, dive loops, zero-G rolls, and corkscrews are fun, but are anything you can't find on other floorless coasters. Given that Magic Mountain is such a spoiled park, you'd think that they would order something more impressive, but at the end of the day, Scream is just another coaster in a park with 19, soon to be 20 roller coasters. Number 7, Batman the Dark Knight at Six Flags New England. Despite this being one of the smaller floorless coasters out there, I was really impressed by Batman. After riding, I kinda got the feel that this was a really well-rounded coaster. For starters, I love the color scheme and view from the top of the lift hill, but also the layout, sequencing, and smoothness are great too. It's not like a super whippy ride or anything, but this one just flows nice. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it's just because this coaster is never talked about in the community, but I really did enjoy this ride. Number 6, Bizarro at Six Flags Great Adventure. The aforementioned clone to Scream ranks 2 spots higher for sprucing things up a little bit. Rather than being a parking lot coaster and being mostly bland, Bizarro is tucked away in a forest and has some neat special effects and visuals. I still don't find the difference between the two rides to be as big of a gap as most will tell you, because at the end of the day, Bizarro's layout also is just not impressive. There's still no unique elements here, they're just amplified by effects and stuff. So next time you decide to bring down Scream, remember that Bizarro is not too much better. Number 5, Rougarou at Cedar Point. I know some of you are going to be turned off by this ranking because let's face it, most of you just don't like Rougarou. But the second I got one back row ride, I questioned why. This is a perfectly smooth ride, as smooth as the other floorless coasters anyways. It has a really cool layout too. Because it was designed to be a stand-up coaster but then modified as a floorless, some of the elements are unlike what you see on those rides. I think Rougarou is one of the strongest first halves of a floorless coaster and then dwindles out a little bit in the second half. But it's still not bad or anything, just that part is slow and has some really weird transitions. Anyways, call me weird, but I just don't get the hate for Rougarou. This is a really fun attraction, and next time I'm at Cedar Point, I'll be sure to give it some more rides. Number 4, Medusa at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Although this coaster cracks the top 4, I'd like to make it clear that Medusa just wasn't as good as I was expecting. I was even contemplating putting this ride at 5 or 6, but ultimately you have to remember that the layout is perfect. I just don't think this ride is the whip that I'd consider a top tier floorless coaster to have. I do think its elements are really enjoyable, like both halves are sequenced great and the Sea Serpent roll is very unique. I just don't know what it is about the snappiness other than that it really just wasn't there. But there's nothing else for me to really say. Medusa was pretty good, just not great in my opinion. Number 3, Kraken at SeaWorld Orlando. This is what I like to imagine Medusa with more of a kick. A lot of the elements on Kraken and even its sequencing in the first half are nearly identical, but as I said, my biggest complaint with that ride is mostly fixed here. Kraken whips you through its inversions, despite the fact that its size and scale are very similar to Medusa. I couldn't tell you why this is the case, but obviously I can't complain. This is a strong third place coaster for this park and one that I make sure to do every time I visit. Number 2, Dominator at King's Dominion. I really don't know too many people who would rank Dominator as high as 2 on their list, but between my 2018 and 2021 rides, this coaster has always rode so well for me. If you're in the back few rows, you tear through this ride's layout, of which is sequenced beautifully. Plus, it's got the whip that I'm looking for, and it's perfectly smooth. I know when Volcano the Blast coaster was removed, a lot of people were like, oh no, now there's a big gap in quality between the top 2 and Dominator at 3, but to be honest, I don't really agree. Coming from a guy who actually rode Volcano and loved it, I don't think Dominator is too far behind. Additionally, this ride was relocated from Geauga Lake in Ohio, so how it's this good is beyond me. I'm sure this will always be a favorite of mine in the world of floorless coasters, even after I go to Europe and Asia. Number 1, Superman Krypton coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. Look, no hard feelings towards Dominator and Kraken because they're both really good coasters, but this one is a league above them. I don't know how a floorless coaster is capable of running like a sit-down or stand-up, but this thing is super intense. Of course, many will tell you that this is their favorite floorless coaster for the layout alone, which I agree is really well done. I love how it jumps on and off the quarry wall for sure, but the way its elements feel almost outshine it for me. All of Superman's inversions have whip, all of its valleys have force, and its pacing is exceptional. Even in the second half, which isn't nearly as creative as some of the others, it's taken with no trims 99% of the time. I just don't know how they do it, but Fiesta Texas is running an otherworldly floorless coaster. This ride is amazing, and the only floorless on here that I could use the word amazing to describe. Clearly, B&M Floorless designs are proven to be a great success. Every ride on here is reliable, fun, and are favorites amongst the general public. Well, except for you, Firebird, but hey, that's just me. If you enjoyed today's video, let me know down in the comment section how you'd rank them, and also, if you could do me the favor of liking the video and subscribing down below, that would be also greatly appreciated. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye, guys.